Okay, chapter 10, we're going to be looking at the nervous system and specifically looking at the senses. So to start with, basic receptors, and then we'll specialize and talk about our nose, ears, taste, things like that. So sensory receptors are going to detect changes, sense things, pick them up. Changes in the environment, and then they're going to stimulate neurons, which are part of your nervous system, take that to your brain. Your brain is going to interpret whatever that reception is. So sensory receptors fall into two categories, somatic and special senses. Somatic senses are distributed widely across your body, all over. Very simple. Special senses are more complex, and that's going to be like your eyes. They are specialized. They have a specific job, and they're found in more of one spot than widely distributed all over. So sensory receptors pick things up, and the two types are your somatic and then your specialized or special senses. So, as we do this, an action potential is how your nervous system works. All action potentials are pretty much the same, yet we experience something different. So an action potential, my nervous system picks something up, it sends it to my brain, and then my brain sends out a response. Whether I'm smelling, hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, every sensory organ is going to work that way. However, they're very different in the way that they work. So, general receptors, you will need to know these. Receptors sensitive to changes in chemical concentrations are chemoreceptors. Chemochemical. Taste buds would be an example. Pick up different chemicals that you taste on your taste buds. Smelling, detect, your nose will have chemoreceptors that picks up different chemicals. Pain receptors are specific, any type of tissue damage. So you actually have receptors in your body that are specific for pain. What part of your body has no pain receptors? Your brain. So if they actually do surgery on your brain, once they get past the tissue and the skull, when they're actually touching your brain, you have no pain in your brain. Thermo deals with temperature. So thermoreceptors are going to respond to changes in temperature. Mechanoreceptors deal with mechanical things, changes in pressure or changes in movement. And then photoreceptors are specifically found in your eye. That's the only place photoreceptors are found. And they respond to light. So a lot of them, the names should be fairly easy because they relate to what they do. Sensation is any awareness that occurs that your brain picks up. So sensation might be before lunch and you smell the pizza, you start to get hungry because that smell. Sensation is going to cause responses. A perception occurs when the brain actually interprets that input. So the sensation would be the smelling of pizza. The perception is, oh, it's almost lunch, I can smell the pizza. You're interpreting what you're picking up through your sensations. At the same time the sensation is being formed, your brain projects or uses projection to send that sensation back to the point of origin so the person can pinpoint the area of stimulation. Particular sensation depends on the region of the brain that receives the impulses, And there's different areas. For example, sight, the back part of your brain is what picks up sight. So that's where that will be perceived at. And there's some other ones that we might look at. Sensory adaptation. Your brain prioritizes stuff as it comes in, what's most important and things like that. So the brain actually becomes less responsive to maintain stimulus such as the feeling of clothing, odors, and part of that deals with adaptation of the actual receptors. So an example in my room, when we dissect something, you walk in and you smell that formalin smell. After you've been in here for 10 minutes, you don't even notice it. Your brain becomes less responsive because of adaptation. People who smoke, the smell of smoke, they don't know that they smell like smoke because their brain, their sensory adapters, have become less responsive to that. Or sounds, when you can kind of tune things out. That would be another example of being adapted to whatever's going on in the background.